Everybody, welcome back to the Well-Crafted Man. Today we're talking about uh, what are we talking
We're
about?
talking about knowing what we're doing and being
Yeah,
professional.
yeah, that is what we're talking about.
No,
Okay, so
we're both in school, and we were just talking about how burnt out we are, and so we thought it would be interesting to talk about keeping ourselves sane and still being able to keep our eyes on the prize.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. How do we continue to kill it, right? Like both of us, and I'm sure many of the other people out there in this world who may or may not be listening have a lot of things going on. We have our day job, we got to pay our bills, keep the lights on, feed ourselves. We have, if you are a well-crafted man, you have your side projects, and some like you and I maybe have more than others, spreading ourselves a little too thin.
Yeah.
Then we have educational obligation because that's not over for either of us.
Yep.
Um, and then your obligation to yourself, staying sane, right? Doing all of these things and keeping this healthy on top of your regular physical wellness and eating well, that needs to be kept in mind. And then all the while having the discipline in more than motivation's fleeting, the discipline to maintain all of these things and hold your resolve, not crack under the pressure and then neglect your responsibilities like I did the last 2 weeks, where I cracked under my own pressure and I built up anxiety for schoolwork that just piled and piled and piled. And then I had to cram it all in the last 2 days. I 2 weeks worth of stuff in 3 days.
You're paying the price for it. Yeah.
Yeah, paying the price. Yeah, so I got a grade that I was dissatisfied with.
I think you touched on something that I talk about with clients all the time, and that's preventative self-care. A lesson that I refuse to learn time and time again. But what's the phrase? Do as I say, not as I do, or something.
Yeah, I think that's how it goes.
I'm allowed to eat Oreos. It's fine. I work hard. No, in that, like, the stress of the things that we do and that pent up frustration and that pent up stress and pain, it builds, and it has an actual chemical presence in your body, and you have to find ways to release it.
Absolutely.
A lot of men will work out or shoot guns or go hiking or I don't know, whatever, and that
All of
it
the
seems
above.
to help. But you can't just do it like once a month and expect that to do the trick, because it isn't.
Correct. There's something that I've very recently started doing, and it's important that you do it properly. Came from The Way of the Superior Man. Good book. Recommend everybody thriftbooks.com. Free
Thriftbooks.com.
copy.
Yep.
Uh,
Sponsors, please, Thriftbooks.
in one of the chapters there, I don't remember what he was talking about. It doesn't matter, but he did mention every single day, like every day, take at least 1 hour, just 1 hour, to do the thing, the activity, whatever it is that you imagine is the thing that you'll get to do when you finally solve all your problems.
Mm-hmm.
The money's not an issue anymore. You never need to work again. What are you going to do? Take an hour out of your day to do that. And you'll come to find that, maybe that's not what you want to do. But if that is what you want to do, and you're doing that for an hour a day, then you can kind of, to me, it feels like having your cake and eating it too, right? That's a funny saying there, but
Yeah.
But only for an hour. And so what I do is I'll do something that is completely frivolous for an hour, like play video games. And I take it another step larger. I already have a day, Sunday, the Lord's Day, when I play video games for hours and hours. It's my day to rest.
I think that I don't think he was talking about video games. I have a problem with
I don't think he was talking about video games either.
people that
he said the thing.
Like, people are like, oh, I have a 3-day weekend this weekend. I'm so excited. And then actually, this is a conversation I heard at my last job. They're like, what are you going to do with your day off or your holiday or something? And they're like, I am not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit in front of the TV and watch Netflix. And that's not good because our time off should be spent doing things that we remember, doing things that we enjoy, and doing things that can help build us into better people.
Something productive or
Sitting around
fulfilling.
watching Netflix accomplishes none of those. But like, you don't remember, not to pick on you, but when you played video games for 8 hours straight or however long, do you remember the details of how good you felt? Do you remember the passion that you felt?
Well, I mean, kind of. The game that I play the most is more than just a game to me. It's also kind of like a coping mechanism and I've been playing this game for a very long time.
League of Legends, right?
RuneScape, actually. Old school okay. RuneScape. Yeah, I've been playing RuneScape since 2003. Hit me up if you guys are out there. I've been playing that for a very long time, and that video game got me through. Well, it was there during a very rough time in my childhood, and now it is a coping mechanism for me. And I've learned to recognize that when I do binge RuneScape, I've got something else going on, and I need to handle that something else before I continue to play.
So RuneScape is a tool for you to keep yourself sane and keep yourself happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been using the heck out of it recently, and that was what I was spending my time on when I wasn't doing any of that schoolwork the last couple of weeks. I've been killing it on RS. On my 3-day weekend, I clock in over 24 hours of gameplay. Like, that's nuts. Yeah, and I sleep in there somewhere too.
You got to sleep. You got to do your regular work. So regular work fell to the wayside. I guess the thing that I can't get out of my head is this phrase I heard years ago. I think it was a Cracked article, actually. And he said very simply and very eloquently, the way that you spend your time defines who you are. And I cannot get that out of my head. I do not want to be a Netflix watcher, even though it's always calling me. I don't want to be a video game enthusiast, even though it's always calling me. You remember the guy at our last job that worked behind that desk that was very grumpy?
Mm-hmm.
That's he went to work and he played video games, and that's all he did, and that's what he talked about, and that's who he was as a person. He was a gamer, and that was his entire identity, and I don't want that.
Yeah, that's a good word there, identity. How do you identify yourself? That's a good way to maintain motivation and discipline. Is saying I am this person, right?
Yeah.
And knowing who you want to be or what it is you want to be is very helpful. Like me being a programmer, if I binge RuneScape, I could say, well, it's also kind of like product research.
We're very good at lying to ourselves, Nick. We're very good
at genius at manipulating the words in my head to justify things. That's why I want to be a lawyer.
You would be so good at that. You really would.
Or a
I'm
judge.
excited for that.
But
especially when I get in trouble and I need a good lawyer, I'll be like, Nick.
How do you identify? Identify if there's something better you want. Identify yourself with it. I am that kind of person.
Yeah. What does future Spencer look like? What's best case scenario future Spencer look like? Kind of like what you said earlier, where if I have all the money in the world, who was that? That was Alan Watts. If you have all the money in the world, and not a responsibility on planet, how would you spend your time? And if you identify with that well, and if you really line up with that, then just do it anyway. And then there will be an audience for it. There will be a market for it because you're going to love doing it. And when you love doing something, people recognize that. People latch on.
Absolutely. I ask myself that question actually frequently, probably a couple times a week. That's one of my favorite existential questions to throw out there to myself or other people all the time.
That's great.
I think it's good practice. It's also a better existential question than, the one of if you're going to die tomorrow and you knew it, like, what are you going to do right now? They're similar, but, different context.
Yeah. If I was going to die tomorrow, I would probably That's not as good of a question.
No, it's not. That can lead you down some
Yeah.
plausibly darker things, like, because when you don't have money, there's still in the question of if you have like $1 billion and you can do whatever you want, you're still, you're still held to the constraints of the law and the societal, structure around you because you're alive still. But if you're gonna die tomorrow, like I'm gonna kill 19 people, or do whatever you want. You're gonna be dead.
Boatloads of cocaine. Bro, I got something crazy for you.
Yes.
This I kind of developed from a Reddit post that I saw. And I don't remember who posted it, but I thought it was so good, and I kind of developed a little bit further because it nails on some Buddhist concepts very well. And so essentially he says like if you have a mug, everybody has a favorite. Have I told you this before?
I'm familiar with the
Okay.
with the little story. I love it.
So I have this mug, and I love it. It's my favorite mug in the whole wide world, and I want to do everything in my power to protect it because I love it. But one day, maybe tomorrow, maybe 50 years from now, it's going to slip out of my hand and it's going to break. Or I'm going to knock it off the counter and it's going to break. And I'll be upset. I'll be mad. I'll be frustrated. And I'll be so sad that I lost my favorite mug. But this is the fate of all mugs, is to break. It's going to happen. So if I can consciously right now accept that the mug is already broken, then every time I use the mug becomes a divine moment. It becomes an amazing existential experience. So if you're going to die tomorrow, maybe don't think of it that way. Maybe think of it of every single day I'm going to die tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So what legacy am I leaving behind today?
Yeah. That's an awesome, existential practice there. And when I learned that, I never loved mugs more. And then you can apply it to everything else.
That's not the point of the story. That is 100% not the point.
Well, I've got a mug, my Baphomet mug that Breed got me. That thing is awesome, and I adore that mug. And and every day I look at it, I'm like, it's still here, and I use it all the time. It's my coffee mug.
Time is a human construct, so that mug is already both broken and intact simultaneously. Mm-hmm. It's just the filter of your mind is projecting it as put together.
And to kind of extend on what you were talking about with the whole death, paradigm and that sort of existential question. Thinking about death, like if you think about the cup is already broken, so the cup is dead.
Yep.
Right? Your death is it's already happened. You're already dead, right? But not currently. You're here in the now. And the way I like to look at it is every previous second, or every time I speak, every second that I leave behind as I move forward in this construct of time that we've developed in our minds, all of that back there, all that time is in death's hands. It's already dead. It's all dying as you go.
Yeah.
And you're alive moving into the future, and everything behind you is dead. It's all in death's hand because you're never getting it back. Time only goes forward.
It only goes forward. Only flows one way. That's something that we look at with grief, in that, like, people that move away, you move away from your hometown and you don't see your high school friends anymore or something. And there's grieving in that because that's a small death. And we experience these small deaths every single day. And it can be very sad. And we have to be able to respect that. Because we think, oh, well, let's just man up, and but you don't have to. It's okay to feel bad about these things.
Yeah, I agree. That's been one of the things that I've been working through currently myself, actually, is when you mentioned the man up, how much do we leave behind or leave unresolved because of man up? You just like, oh, this isn't worth my time. This isn't what men do. Don't even bother with it. Yeah. And but it always sits there. You just throw it in your bag, right? The long bag we carry behind us just stays in there. It's coming back later. It's gonna come back eventually. Handle it.
Always comes back. Yeah. Always.
in particular have been working with shame on that one. Be a man. Well, be a man is shaming in its own way,
Yeah.
and because then you like if you say be a man to somebody, it's like, well, then am I not a man? And it's something I need. Should I be aspiring to that? And I'm not adding up to it. You're saying I'm lesser. That is shameful in itself. But moreover, the things that I will neglect, the forms of shame that I will just let go of because it's not worth my manly time to think about it. I feel a whole lot lighter going through it, like physically. Like I know I'm not like actually lighter, but
I think I think being a man can be reframed, or be a man can be reframed because we grow up with so much shame around emotion and around weakness, that being emotional and being weak and being vulnerable is extremely difficult to do, and actually takes a humongous amount of bravery on the part of the person who is feeling emotional, because we can always suck it up and try and hide it. But then if we're like truly vulnerable with our friends and putting ourselves out there, then that is incredibly courageous. And I can't think of anything more manly than to be courageous and to be honest. And there's a car alarm going on outside my place.
You city slickers and all them people around and stuff.
Living in the city, living the dream.
Shit, dude. I mean, I'm not in the city, but it's crowded enough around here where I'm like, I want to go back to the boonies. There's too many people. But at the same time, I'm like, I like to be around people. Just not when driving. If I just never need to drive again, I'll be cool.
That's why I like living downtown. I get to walk everywhere. It's fantastic.
It's pretty neat.
I love it.
Marcus Aurelius, he said something about...
I love that book.
Yeah. This is the cheap version, so it's thriftbooks.com.
Thriftbooks.com.
This was $3.
What an outstanding deal that you wouldn't find anywhere else in the world except for thriftbooks.com.
Except for thriftbooks.com. And if you
so good.
Spend more than like $5 or something, it's free shipping. $10. Yeah, there you go. And you get this and like one other book or whatever. I've got like $40 worth of way less than that. I got a huge stack of books here. This is like $20 worth of books.
What's funny is, I know we do this as a joke, but like yours and mine genuine love for thrift books is just, it permeates everything we do. I tell people about it all the time.
I'm on that website almost daily.
Yeah.
If I listen to a really good audiobook, I'll find it on thrift books to purchase it so that I can, have the physical. You can't really like flip through pages on an audiobook, So when you have something I want to refer to, I like to have it. Speaking of great audiobooks, this one you will love. It's called Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh, I have that one.
You have it on Audible?
Yeah. No, I have it. I haven't read it yet, though.
So he doesn't have like a regular audiobook. First off, it's an incredible book. Totally, recommend reading it, and I want to purchase my own copy on thriftbooks.com.
Thriftbooks.com.
Actually, I found it's like $7. Anyway, you can't beat it. You're losing money not buying it. Anyway,
I'm gonna buy 2 copies.
He calls it an enhanced audiobook. So he has voice actors, and he uses actual audio recording from the instances that happened that he mentions in the book. It was incredible. It was like a full presentation from the information to the presentation to the structuring of the book, so that the entire story plays out and you get a full understanding of what the point he's trying to make. It was marvelous. Cool. I strongly recommend it. It was just shy of 9 hours, so I listened to it in just a week driving to and from work.
That's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I learned so much about how we talk to each other. It was pretty incredible.
Smart guy, that Malcolm Gladwell. I forgot what I was going to say.
Do you hear that?
Yeah. It's okay.
We'll just pretend it's not there.
Yeah, just ignore her. Or bring her up into frame. People on YouTube will love it.
Well, no, because she's like, "Hey, I want attention," and then as soon as you go down to pet her, she's like, "No," like, runs off, just out of reach. She's like, "Come back, kitty cat."
I want you to suffer.
Stop running! Sometimes I can just leave her here, like on my lap, and she'll chill and fall asleep and purr and all that. Just to give her, and she'll stay there for like hours.
Melons. I had a cat that would. It would like. If this is my leg. It would like sit with its legs here and here, and it would just like lay on me. It was the cutest thing on the planet. It was so cute.
Yeah, she's a major cuddle bug. Downstairs, I've got a little reading spot. Got my lamp, and I just lay down. I can read perfectly right there. Good light and everything. And she'll lay on me the entire time. And I'll be there for hours, and she just sleeps.
So cute.
Nice.
I love cats. I love dogs too.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the what's the right words to use here? Like the cognitive rejuvenation that you get from enjoying a pet.
Yep.
As much as she really distracts me from doing things, like getting ready for work, I can become late because I'm just like, oh, kitty, kitty, kitty. Doing schoolwork, like if I do anything for more than an hour, she comes up and is like, hey, me now,
Yeah.
what's up with me? And so she gets in the way of everything. But I think it's a welcome break from the monotony. You know, like we were talking about getting burnt out. She helps to quell the fire a little bit.
There's a ton of research around the effects of having a pet, and it's all good. Like if you're a kid and you grow up with an animal, you're better set for success later in life. If you're an adult, you're better set to handle stress. Like it's incredibly helpful.
What about that makes
just something that you can love and something that loves you, that kind of you can always depend on and trust and isn't going to judge you. And you know, like you were saying, like sometimes it's just a nice break to be able to have something to snuggle up with. And that being said, I think cat people generally also like dogs.
Yeah, I'm more of like an animal person in general.
And then dog people like hate cats.
Yeah.
I don't get that. They're adorable.
I don't understand that either. There's dog people, and then there's people without hate in their hearts. And that's
dog people are elitist about how much they love their dogs. You know?
Yeah, it's like, you're going to knock over all my books. That's like $20 worth of books.
No, that's like $100 worth of books that you got for $20.
There you go. That's the right way to frame it.
Clearly, we did a lot of prep for this episode and have lots of good content. Guys,
welcome to the Well-Crafted Man podcast. Today we're just shooting the shit.
Yep.
Let's hang out.
Let's hang out. Something interesting that we do in therapy with therapy dogs. Have you ever seen a therapy dog?
The slave dogs that have like the hard handle on them?
No. This is different. Dogs love to work though. They like Australian Shepherds love to be shepherds, you know. Therapy dogs though are weird. But they're that way for a reason. So they're trained to be very, very, very calm and non-reactive. Like you could walk up with 100 cookies and run up and be like, "Oh, I'm so excited," and they would just like look at you because they're so well trained. And the reason behind it is because when you're severely traumatized, or when you have all the symptoms around that, a sudden movement from out of the corner of your eye can be a threat to your life. That's how it can be perceived. So they have to be 100% rock steady. And then if I'm like working with a kid, and let's say, for example, the kid's parents are going through a divorce or something, I can say to the kid, "Oh, this is Whiskers," or whatever the dog's name is. And I don't actually have a therapy dog, but this is Whiskers, and he's having some problems with his family right now. And maybe he would love to get a pet from you. I think he'd really appreciate that. And they love it. They love being able to project their issues onto something that's like dependable and sturdy.
That's genius.
Oh yeah, it's I didn't come up with it, obviously. It's fantastic. And we had therapy dogs at my old clinic, and I'd be like, I didn't understand their role in the therapeutic process at the time. So I'd be like, there's something wrong with these dogs. Because I'd be so excited to see them. And then they just look at me. Yeah. I'm like, oh.
Steely-eyed.
It's like a Doctor Who villain.
I think it's kind of funny how we're helping people get over their traumas by getting a dog that at birth we take it from its mother and then traumatize it into being sturdy forever.
They're not traumatized. A lot of them are rescues, actually, that like they gain a job through this training.
You're hiring convict dogs. Dog gets out of the clink. He gets to become a therapy dog.
Yeah, but
better than doing construction.
Seeing eye dogs and things that dogs are happy to help. They love helping us. So I like to think that even though they've been trained to be very calm, they still enjoy their work.
I would like to think that, but they look like slave dogs to me. Yeah. I've had a billion dogs in my time. More than the average person by a lot. And I think freedom is a good thing for all organisms. So be free, puppy.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue with like dogs is when people don't train them, and then they can't like enjoy them because then they become a burden. So you have to like train them to not bark at 3 a.m. or run away. Like I was walking with my friend who had an untrained or a poorly trained dog, and it would just run off, and she wouldn't put it on a leash. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you can't be weak with a dog.
Yeah. Like
in any way, especially like every time I see like some skinny girl walking a pit bull, I'm like, you're the reason why pit bulls are illegal. Because there's no way you're gonna handle that. If that dog's like, I'm gonna murder this thing right now, she's gonna be like, stop it, killer. I don't want you to do that. It's gonna eat that thing and it'll eat you if you try stopping it. You're weak. You own a pit bull or any other dog, you gotta be stronger than it.
You gotta be the alpha.
Yep. So preventative self-care, what is that? Glancing at the notes of little things that I've written down.
Preventative self-care. I think self-care is used as a buzzword these days, and I don't like it, but I also don't know anything better. I'm not smart enough to come up with a better term. Maybe like
I use wellness.
Effective time management for wellness, but that doesn't sound as catchy as self-care.
It's a lot of words.
Yeah. So people, like, I'll go to seminars and people will be like, simple things include self-care, like doing your laundry and balancing your checkbook and all that. Like, yeah, it is self-care, but it's also just like being an adult. But also, granted, when you're going through a lot, doing simple things like doing the dishes or balancing your checkbook can become very burdensome. So I guess
self-care is kind of like a dynamic sort of term. It means something different to everybody depending on where they are at a certain, state of mind. Doing my laundry could be just chores that I do weekly because that's what you do when you're alive. Get your chores done, or like the last 2 weeks, not do any of that, and now it's become a little bit of self-care that I need to do because I like having clean clothes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not saying that you're going through depression or anything. I'm not projecting on you, but like when you're in the midst of like a depressive episode, the idea of doing laundry or anything else responsible is like almost impossible.
It's farthest from your mind.
But then at the same time, someone saying just practice good self-care is like almost condescending.
It's too simple. It's too simplistic. When you say something like that, you're neglecting to acknowledge the subjective issues that somebody's having. If you don't know anybody's internal subjective perspective. So by just slinging out some buzzwords like, oh yeah, you just got to go buzzword, that's not gonna,
Yeah. Just be
doesn't help
mindful
anyone.
of your time outside.
Yeah, like what does that mean? How about let's start a dialogue and we can talk about this, and then and then I hopefully the person figures it out on their own. But that's
Yeah.
therapy kids.
People don't know how to dive into other people's issues without being terrible and detrimental to the process. So it's like if someone's if you run into a friend at the grocery store and you're like, and you tell them like, oh, I've been super depressed lately, they'll be like, oh, I'm really sorry. Uh, well, see you later. You know.
Yeah, right. Don't even ask. Yeah, like especially when people have like some sort of insight into what it is that's going on with you, and they're like, hey, how about this thing, and you're like, oh, let me tell you, and they're like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
trying to fade away from the conversation that they started.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
Therapy,
did I tell
learn
you
how to
about
talk
mirror
to yourself.
neurons? Have I told you about that? Have I brought this up here?
Mirror.
Mirror neurons.
Enlighten me.
Kind of cool. Because we evolved with like community in mind and connection, we like 100% need it. We have these things called mirror neurons that when it's how kids learn from their parents by like watching their parents and stuff. But essentially as adults, the way that we feel is how we want the people around us to feel, even if we don't know it. So our actions depend on our feelings and project that into the world, hopefully to get people around us to feel that same way. So if I'm sad, I'm going to act super mopey and like, and grumpy. And I'm subconsciously trying to get the people around me to also feel sad and grumpy. Or if your friend is sad, if you run into your friend at the grocery store and they're super sad and depressed and you're in a good mood, then you're not going to be comfortable with them being sad. So your effort is going to be into making them feel happy, and you're going to try and cheer them up however you can, even though it probably won't work. So I think the first step in that with people in really making that initial connection is be prepared to meet people where they are. Don't try and put them in the box that you want them to fit in based on your mood. Respect the mood that they're in. A big part of therapy is connecting with people on their emotional level. So if someone comes into my office, and this is the difference between empathy and sympathy. Sympathy is, oh, that sucks. Empathy is, wow, I really feel what you're going through right now. So we really try to connect with people and how they're feeling so we can understand where they're coming from. And that is mirror neurons. Respect your moods because it's information.
That's cool. That's a cool word to put that, like to frame that, because I've tried to stay cognizant of that. Mostly it started out, I don't want people to bring me down.
Yeah.
Because I have a really hard time not feeling what someone else is feeling, especially in person talking to them.
Yeah.
I almost from a distance on some people I'll pick it up. Yep. And I'll be that. So I tried not to do that. And then conversely, I don't ever try to give off how I actually feel to anyone, ever.
Are you like trying to protect yourself or what?
Well, I started out as trying to protect myself from other people's shitty moods. And then that sort of practice is translated into walling off other people, of the things that I'm actually feeling and knowing. So that's why I kind of can come across as a little bit of a live wire, for lack of a better word, because nobody knows what they're going to get, because I keep this shit on lock. I'm pretty just put on my suit of aggression and then just walk out there and live the whole world like that, and everybody will leave you alone. Regardless of what's going on back there, it may not be aggression. I could be ecstatic about something. I just don't feel like sharing with anyone.
That's fair. I think you and I, whenever we hang out or we have hung out in the past before COVID, I always felt like it was pretty fun.
Oh yeah,
I got to see the lighthearted, fun Nick.
Yeah, I don't do that with people I care about. That's I'm talking about like when I'm at work or in public or something.
Yeah.
But that's not always healthy too. But on the same token, if I let it down, I start absorbing everybody else's emotions.
Yeah.
And I can't, talking to Becky and she's down and I'm down, and then talking to George and George is like, this asshole. I'm like, yeah, that asshole. And then I'm talking, it's like, it's a lot
the downside of being an empathetic person is that it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It takes so much energy. Sometimes if I'm in a tough session, I'll walk out of it and I'll just be like completely drained, just trying to track and stay there. I remember, so Nick and I met in customer service a few years ago when we were both working this customer service job part-time. And I remember this customer came up to me and this other employee, and she was really mad. She felt like she got ripped off or something, which is common, in the industry. And the person I was with was like trying to stay calm and trying to be collected and like, oh, I understand that you're feeling bad, while she's like at a 10, he's trying to stay at a 3. And I was thinking the whole time, like, man, if he was able to ramp that up to a 10 and join her in that anger, she would have calmed down immediately. But instead, because he wasn't able to meet her in that, it just ramped her up because she felt like he was being condescending to her.
I totally agree with that. And it's a lot easier said than done because you have to recognize that first.
Well, and just like, I was thinking, like, if he was like, what? That happened? I am so upset, and just like meet her there, even if it's fake.
Dude, it works. Text, it's the best thing ever. I do that if somebody's, because you're going to get it multiple times a week. You're getting that in that industry. I feel ripped off. This thing ripped me off. This stole this, whatever. First thing I do is like, that's ridiculous, man. I can't believe it. Let's solve it. Always.
Take a look at this. And I bet
we're there together.
Nervous system immediately calms. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's such a good way to do it.
Always there together. And being empathetic, being overly empathetic kind of helps with that,
Yeah. But like we said, it's exhausting. It's really hard to protect yourself while you're taking on other people's emotions. Mm-hmm. Most of my training at my school has been not so much, I wouldn't say most, 25% of my training at my school has been not so much about helping other people. It's about helping myself and keeping myself from burning out. Because it's so common in psychology. Because every single day you're absorbing these emotions from just like the worst stories of what can happen to people happens to the folks in therapy. And like, not always, of course. Sometimes people just want to, improve their lives. But, you get the ones, it's like severe trauma, and you absorbing that, it can take its toll. So that's self-care.
That sort of emotional sponge.
Meditation, exercise, outside time, keeping on top of life management, like laundry. Got to get number 5. Buying good information from thriftbooks.com.
Buying good information from thriftbooks.com. That is number 1 all the time, everybody. Keep that in mind. Number 5, be compassionate. This is something that's very, very difficult for myself and a lot of men I know. Be compassionate to yourself, especially in the face of a burnout. Burnouts happen. They happen to all of us, sometimes more often than others. Just being a little compassionate with yourself will help you to get back on track with the other 4.
Yeah.
And not have that burnout just extend perpetually into, your indulgence of whatever it is that you're going to indulge on while you're in your burnout.
Why do you think we are so hard on ourselves? Like psychologically, I understand culturally why, because we want to succeed, but like, why is anything less than 100% a failure?
So I can only really comment on that from like a self perspective and how I treat myself in my day. So recently, what I think we've already mentioned it a few times, I dropped the ball on my school the last 2 weeks, and I ended up getting a B in the class. And some people will be like, "Oh yeah, B, that's no big deal." I was furious with a B.
Really?
Because I didn't get a B because I didn't get it. I mean, I didn't get it, and that's why I got the B. but I didn't get it, and I did not allow myself the time to understand it. I did not do any of my schoolwork when it was supposed to be done. I crammed it all in right at the end. And so I knew I was going to pass the class, so I ended up failing the test. It's like, whatever, just need to get through it. I was down to the wire. Things were due, and I was 5 minutes away, and it was better to get 45% than a 0%.
Yep.
So I ended up with a B in the class entirely, and a B is not up to my personal standards and where I hold myself.
So what's so bad about getting a B?
I let myself down.
Why is a B letting yourself down?
Because I get A's. I only get A's.
So you have this level in your life that you're used to performing at, and then you weren't able to perform at that.
And so I beat myself up about it. And that sort of self-deprecation, instead of motivating me to do better, only helped perpetuate the burnout.
Spiraled it. Yep.
Yeah. And so that's why compassion is so important, and why I've been really working on compassion. Because if you can talk to yourself in the face of your own self failures, if you are indeed putting yourself to the test all the time, testing yourself, having high standards for yourself, it's okay not to meet them sometimes. Be compassionate about it. You're going to nail it next time. Nobody's perfect 100% of the time, right? And that's something that's not in my vocabulary. That's not something that I've been using. Like seriously, like 100% A's is where I'm usually at. And so to get a B, and it's by the skin of my teeth, B also is an 81%, nearly a C. Awful. But you need to be compassionate. And it wasn't just school that fell. Everything fell. House is a disaster. I did none of the self-care that was chores before.
I get it. Yeah, it's a tough time. I get it. There's a lot going on, but you can be compassionate in yourself, and you can say, there's a lot going on, so chores are going to fall to the wayside because I don't want to do them. Yeah. I know that one day I will do them, but it's just not today.
Yeah. So that's why. What was your question again? It was like, why do we perpetuate this amongst ourselves?
Yeah, I'm just curious, I guess, and I have another book on this that I haven't read yet because I have a lot of reading to do that talks about this, but I'm just curious, kind of sussing it out right now, is that like we have this expectation of ourselves to be 100%, but when other people aren't 100%, we don't generally seem to care.
Yeah. I almost expect it out of people. I'm like,
like you texted me about your B. You texted me about your B, and I texted you back, that's awesome, man. Like, that's great. That's a B. But you're telling me that was like a horrible thing, but I thought it was fine. I thought it was great. B's are fine.
Man, I was mad. I drank that night.
So where's that disconnect of, because you were super hard on yourself. So why are we so hard on ourselves and not hard on other people? And why can't we be more gentle with ourselves? Why is it that 1% from 100 to 99, why is that such a huge step? I don't know. I haven't read the book on it yet. It's called Punished by Rewards. I think that's what it's about. It's about our school system, but I think there will be some wisdom in there. But
okay. Well, let's just spitball on that then. So why are we so hard on ourselves and not hard on others? Part of it, I think, I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall here. I think part of it would come from what sort of standards were you held to as a child?
Yeah.
And who was holding those standards? Like your dad, your mom, whatever. How strict were they on it? What happened when you didn't meet up to those standards?
That's easy to forget. Like, if you don't get A's, then you won't get into a good college. And if you don't get into a good college, you won't have a happy life. It's like, I didn't get an A, so I'm going to be unhappy.
Yeah, you're going to die poor and lonely in a ditch because you didn't get your degree or whatever. Wow. That's not true, but that's a societal sentiment.
That's what we think.
Yeah.
I remember I got 2 C's on some test in elementary school, and I just cried and cried and cried because I knew that my parents were going to be disappointed. was so sad.
Me personally, my parents, they didn't really expect anything. And
Really?
I wish they did. I wish that they had held me to some sort of standard, because I would have, you know, been able to, I would have absolutely been able to, you know, meet it or move past it. But my parents never seemed to think I was going to do anything in this world. And that's
Very
part
sad.
of why I feel the way I feel about myself. I didn't get that sort of expectation placed on me as a child. And so as an adult, if I feel unsatisfied with something, it's because I'm not meeting my own high expectations.
Hmm.
So maybe it's a childhood thing, whether you did or did not have these sorts of expectations. Moreover, my expectations of other people were abysmal. I don't expect anyone to do anything ever.
Yeah.
Because ever since childhood, it was, you know, I figured my own stuff out, you know.
It's hard to depend on other people. A lot of times I'll have people that are like working with me or working for me that just completely let me down. And it's like, I guess I'll just do it all anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't turn
You're
out
not
as well
disappointed
because
when
there's
you
so
don't.
much pressure. Yeah.
And you're not as disappointed in life if you know, you don't expect anything out of others. And I think my lack of expectations on others is probably another part of reason why I expect so much out of myself. And it's not that you don't expect anything. Obviously, there's some expectations. Like if you go to Starbucks, you expect to get the coffee you ordered, right? But is it going to taste good? Are they going to get it right? Probably not. That's how I think about it. And I'm ordering just coffee. Give me coffee in a cup. You'd be surprised how often that gets messed up.
Or the yeah, so I think it comes down to the old phrase of like, you know, life isn't always smooth sailing, but you can learn to surf the waves. You know,
That's
like,
good.
It isn't. So when there's some people that if Taco Bell messes up their order, they have a conniption, and then there's some people that are just like, I don't care, it's fine. And then there's a million things in between. So it's a mindfulness thing of like recognizing that what's going on with your experience, and then really diving into why, without judging yourself. I think it's called the wings of Prajna. It's like one wing is compassion and the other wing is wisdom, and they keep you aloft, and you know that like I'm growing from this and all that, but that's a whole other thing.
That's interesting. I like that. Life isn't always smooth sailing, but you can learn to ride the waves. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a mindfulness thing. Like, you know, when you're super angry, you're not sinking into that anger. You're riding that wave. And you're looking at it while you're doing it, and it loses its power. I love mindfulness. I feel like I have control over my own brain for the first time in my life when I started a mindfulness practice.
Mm-hmm. Mindfulness is amazing.
Yeah, because like it's even evolved into, for me, it's even evolved into physical pain. Like your shoulder hurts like crazy. You know, I hurt my shoulder. My shoulder, I'll wake up and it hurts like crazy, and I'm like, it takes over my body. Or I consciously zone in on it and I just watch it and pay attention to it, and it loses that power.
That's also a really good way for just regular pain mitigation. I don't know like what mechanisms go on in your brain to allow that to happen. I think just maybe being more aware of a chronic pain, like not just back here, but thinking about it from here in your brain allows you to isolate it more. Like I get wrist pain all the time, and I just will literally do that. Just look at my wrist and, you know, just make some movements and stuff, and it dulls it down.
Yeah, it's
pretty,
like you're not in the TV
wild.
show anymore. It's like you're watching the TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more outside of it.
Show can't hurt you. It's cool stuff, though. I love doing it. I can't remember who said it, but I said this a few episodes ago. Like, if we're all born from the universe, we were all formed in the Big Bang, then we essentially are the universe. And this is the first time that we know of a piece of the universe is observing itself. It's so cool. I don't know.
Pretty wild.
I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, familiar with that quote too. Some physicist.
I think it was Carl Sagan
Yeah, it was one of the guys who
or
helped with the
Rinpoche.
atomic bomb, right? Like one of them.
Uh,
Oh no, it was Carl Sagan. It was definitely Carl Sagan. Yes, he said it like in he said it opening up his lecture on the Tesseract.
Cool.
Yeah, that
There's
was
a YouTube clip.
That's a true.
This is way random. Oh, it's so good. There's this YouTube clip I saw on Family Guy of Stewie watching Bobby McFerrin fall down some stairs, and Bobby McFerrin makes Bobby McFerrin noises falling down the stairs, but then Stewie just goes, cool. And I find myself doing that, and people don't get the context, and I look very strange. Cool.
I love slinging out references that nobody knows.
And nobody gets.
Yeah, I do the Step Brothers all the time, or Workaholics. So there's a scene in Workaholics where like Adam is now he's sophisticated because he's got a rich girlfriend or whatever, and he says to Durs, he says, "Fly, Durs, that's mine," or something like that. And Durs says, "It's FYI, for your information." He says, "Yeah, I know how to spell." So whenever that comes up, I'll lay that like fly, and then when somebody says FYI, I'll say, "Yeah, I know how to spell." And that's only happened 4 times. I heard that like 9 years ago, and I've only 4 opportunities in life it came up, and I nailed every single one.
That's fantastic.
And 4 out of 4 people thought that I was like getting aggressive and trying to fight them. Like, whoa, dude, I wasn't trying to. I wasn't calling you stupid. Like, no, it's a joke. Yeah, and also you couldn't tell that it was a joke. It's an acronym. It's not how you spell shit. Like,
humor where you're putting yourself out there without shame is really hard to pull off and feel comfortable with.
Oh, that's my life. I just throw it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm comfortable playing characters, like playing a dumb character or playing a goofy character and like buying into that, and then people around me don't know if I'm playing that character or don't know that I'm doing that, so they're just looking at me like I'm a lunatic. But the people that are close to me, like you and a couple other folks, like get it. I hope. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, that's Oh, okay. We did it. Everybody, thanks for listening to the jibber jabber. What did we even talk about? Go to thriftbooks.com.
Thriftbooks.com.
Buy your books.
They don't sponsor us.
They don't, but tell them we sent you anyway.
We love them so much that we're ignoring their restraining orders.